I work with a lot of couples, and I'm always so struck by how quick partners are to defend themselves. The faintest hint of an unfair accusation, an unjust characterization, or a flawed narrative, and they bristle up. And this is probably going to sound a little bit harsh and insensitive. But who cares? I mean, really, who cares about those things that we spend so much time defending ourselves against? Most of the time, they're small and innocuous, but even if they're big, I mean, does it really matter? What if we just were to give up on this entire enterprise of defending ourselves? What if we don't actually have to defend ourselves? We've just been conditioned and programmed into thinking that we have to. What if we were to stop protecting this small little piece of territory, this trembling little ego? I mean, what is the terrible and awful thing that we're so afraid of happening if we were to stop constructing our frantic defenses? Are we afraid that the world would collapse as we know it, that we would cease to exist, that our partner would fall out of love with us? Because more likely than not, the opposite of all of those things would happen if we gave up on this compulsion to defend ourselves. Because we're all going to die. Our ego in this life, and that's a foreshadow for later, or at the end of this life is going to die. So why spend so much energy protecting it? What do we get out of it? What's the reward in the moment of protection? I don't think that there's much of a reward at all. And this compulsive, impulsive, automatic quality with which our ego perks up in order to defend itself, I think it actually points to how fragile, how sort of weak that ego of ours is in the first place. It always needs to be on guard because it knows that it's not very strong. It knows that maybe it's not entirely real. So today I want to invite you, me, whoever, to consider no longer defending ourselves, period. And from what I can tell, this idea is pretty novel. But the fascinating part is that you don't actually have to defend yourself. You are choosing to. Yes, that choice is automatic, but it's a choice nonetheless. And when you recognize that you don't have to defend yourself, that there's no rule compelling you to do so, then you see the choice that to this point has been obscured by habit and impulse. So, to illustrate this, imagine two different scenarios. Your partner points out that you didn't take out the trash yesterday when you said you would. In scenario one, you immediately start to justify your actions and rationalize and explain why you didn't do what you said you were going to do. You look a bit frantic, you're defending yourself against what you feel to be some sort of gross mischaracterization. I mean, all they've said to this point is you didn't take out the trash when you said you would. But now you're probably defending yourself against what feels like an attack. Maybe you're worried that they see you in this moment as irresponsible and self centered. They may not. Who knows? They haven't said that to this point, but you're busy defending yourself. And the irony here is that defending ourselves is actually irresponsible in this context and entirely self centered. It's all about me protecting me, trying to make myself look better, trying to make myself feel better. I'm totally shutting you out. I'm pushing against you in those moments. I'm just trying to make myself look and feel okay. It is self centered. The ego's impulse to defend itself is a self absorbed process. It is not about other, it is not about relationship. It does not help other, it does not help relationship. It probably doesn't even help the self all that much. Let's contrast that with scenario two. In scenario two, you hear your partner's story. You notice the impulse to defend yourself. You notice some intense emotional reactivity come online in your body. Maybe you're not even entirely sure what you're about to defend yourself against, but it doesn't matter because this time you don't do it. You resist the urge to defend yourself, to make yourself look better. You know that it actually doesn't make you look better, and so you don't do it. You do nothing. Whether your partner thinks you're self centered or whether you secretly fear that you might be self centered, whatever it is, You resist the urge to shore up your ego and to reassure yourself. Instead, maybe you simply acknowledge that they, in fact, are right. You did say you would take out the trash and you didn't take out the trash. You acknowledge that. Next time, you'll follow through. You reiterate that commitment to them and to yourself. It's simple, it's clean, it's quick, it's over in a flash. And guess what? The world did not crumble. You didn't die. Your partner, far from seeing you as self centered and rejecting you, probably feels even closer to you. They probably feel more open hearted towards you. They probably like you more, if not love you more, in that moment. Because the non self centered, non selfish thing is to not defend yourself. To not defend yourself is to be for the other, to take your ego, its stories, its fears, its projections less seriously or not seriously at all. By not acting out of ego, by not defending ego the way ego wants to defend itself, you deprive your ego of the fuel that it needs to go on sustaining itself. And in that moment of non defense, there's a little ego death, which is what I was talking about earlier, where ego can sort of die in life. So I invite you to consider, what would your relationship look like with yourself, with others, with your partner, with colleagues, with peers, if you resisted, or better yet, just simply let go of your ego's compulsive desire to defend itself? I think it's worth the experiment.